Hello Dino Peeps! Do you recognize this? You start playing ARK with a group of friends and you prepare for the boss fight. Little by little this group gets smaller and smaller because no one really had an idea how much work went into the preparation and it is going too slow for them. In the end you sit there with your preparations half done but no one else logs in anymore. I know this because this is how my first 2000 hours in ARK went. Several servers, several attempts to do the boss, and every time I ended up sitting alone with my animals and no one was there anymore. However, most bosses can be soloed, and I will tell you which are the biggest mistakes why a boss fight might fail. Number 1. You choose the wrong animals for the fight. I see this mistake all the time and I think I should do a little bit of explanation here. I understand the reason why many players want to mutate only one type of animal to get through all the boss fights. Mutating requires a lot of time and work. However, there is no species of animal that is equally good for all boss fights. No. Not even the Rex. I see people come up to me all the time in my tutorials and tell me, yeah, but my Rex is like so and so much life and so much damage and it can easily do all the bosses on official. And honestly, that's easy to say because no one on official servers mutates their Rexes by themselves. People get these Rexes already mutated as a gift and in the best case, they then raise them for the imprint and that's it. These people don't know that there are almost 2 or 3 years of work in these lines. I know this because I know the breeder of the lines on official PvE. Yep, there is exactly one person who has taken on this task and if you have kept Rexes on official, then they are his line. But I'm speaking here for people who start the game from zero and who would like to get through the bosses more easily. These people just don't have kept Rexes at hand that someone else has mutated for them. So please don't listen to people who do all the bosses with kept animals and then tell you it's super easy. That it is not, I see almost daily in my DMs or on Discord. When people tell me their boss fight was wiped even though they had obviously done everything right. But how do you choose the right animal for the right fight? I already have made tutorials for the island bosses, which also applies for Fjordur. There are usually some options for each boss that are well suited. And yes, the Rex also has its place in the fights with some bosses, just not in all of them universally. So now for the first reason, you die in boss fights because you take tames that are absolutely not suited. This is not your fault, by the way, because in the ARK world there are so many opinions about what is suitable, and when someone gives you tips, you never know with what settings people really play. I've seen so many boss tutorials on YouTube that made it look super easy, but upon later research I see the stats of the animals were boosted or the boss was made to be weaker to make the fight look much easier. Important, don't believe everything you see online. Don't believe anyone who wants to push a solution as super easy. Get the infos from several sources and then compare them. By the way, if you like videos like this, please like this video and leave a sub if you haven't already subbed. By doing this, you will help this video to be more widely distributed by YouTube and more people will see these tips. Your next error is you are not mutating, and this is another reason I see quite often when it comes to boss fights not being finished or when people come to me and ask me if their animals are good enough. At a certain difficulty level, you have to mutate your animals. There's no way around it. As a rough guideline, gamma bosses can usually be done with unmutated but highly leveled animals. Just combine your best stats, level them up properly, fully imprint them, and you should have no problem. If you want to finish beta without mutations, you need at least good saddles, but I can't guarantee that you will bring all the animals back home again. For alpha, you have to work hard. You have to mutate and you need to have good saddles. There is no way around it. Dedons in battle are not a replacement for mutations or good saddles. I usually don't take a healing animal in any of my boss fights because it occupies a slot for an animal that should do the damage. But you should take a UT with you as a booster. As a rough guideline for alpha, I always say 100 points in life and melee should be enough to defeat most bosses. With a dragon, you want to be a little bit more careful about the health as the percentage fire damage is more painful on animals with a lot of levels in health. You will have to deal with mutations for alpha though, so start sooner than later. Mistake number 3, you do not have good saddles. In point 2 I already foreshadowed this point a little bit. Players undervalue saddles and their effectiveness in boss fights. Let me show you this with some numbers. Without a saddle, your animal takes 100% of the damage. With a primitive saddle, they take only 50% of the damage. With a 100 armor saddle, they take only 20% of the damage. Do you see how important saddles and especially good saddles are? To willingly sacrifice this damage reduction is almost negligent. But point 1 also plays a role here, because depending on which animal you choose, it is easier or harder to get good saddles. Reg saddles are usually relatively hard to find compared to other animals, so you can see all the decisions you make in the boss preparation are interconnected. Mistake number 4, you ignore environmental conditions. The next point has nothing to do with your animals but with your personal preparation. Some arenas are very cold, some are very warm, that you either have to counteract with your armor or adjust your fortitude value so that you don't mind these temperatures. In the case of a few arenas, however, there are other influences that affect you as a player. In the Dragon Arena, the Morphodons spawn with which only attack the rider and their armor. In the Fenris and Dinopithecus Arena, you will be dismounted by the boss and you will be on foot for some time. In the Crystal Wyvern Arena, the boss has a blood-stealing attack and sucks health from you as a player and from your tame. So you should find out beforehand what the conditions are in this arena and how best to prepare. For example, I always take 2 riot armor sets with me to the dragon boss so I can swap armor if necessary. And I give my char enough levels in fortitude as well as buffed soups to cool down so I don't slow cook myself in the armor. As you can see, bosses require a little preparation, but if you plan a little, you can eliminate many chances of failure. On which boss did you get completely wiped once with no survivors? My first boss where that happened was King Titan Alpha on Extinction, and maybe I was a little bit too optimistic to join the boss only with a griffin. And if you want to see now how to defeat the dragon boss on the island and also on Fjordur, then check out my solo tutorial. Maybe it will give you some inspiration for your fight. See you next time. Bye!